The strange delivery Tom lived alone in a small city apartment. He did not have many friends. Most days, he worked on his computer and watched videos to pass the time. Tom always wanted a pet, but he was afraid he would not be a good owner. One night, while looking at his phone, an ad popped up. Buy the smart pet, the most realistic and intelligent pet ever. Your life will change forever. The ad showed a cute robot dog running and talking. The pet could play games, talk, and even understand feelings. Only one left in stock, the ad said. Tom felt excited. He clicked the link and ordered the smart pet without thinking much. He typed his address, paid with his card, and then closed his eyes, feeling a bit silly. The next day, Tom almost forgot about the smart pet. But later, when he returned from work, he saw a message on his phone. Your delivery will arrive tonight. Please be ready. That was strange. Most deliveries came in the day, not at night. It was already dark when the buzzer rang at 10 p.m. Tom went to the main door. Outside stood a man in a dark uniform. The man did not smile. He handed Tom a large, heavy box with no company name, only his address printed on top. The man did not say a word and left quickly, disappearing down the street. Tom dragged the box into his living room. It was much bigger than he expected. He thought he was getting a robot dog, but this box could fit a child. His hands shook a little as he found a small note taped to the box. The note only said, "Do not return." He opened the box slowly. As he lifted the lid, all the lights in his apartment flickered and buzzed. The TV turned on by itself, showing only white noise. Tom felt cold air rush out of the box. His heart pounded. Inside, he saw a thick blanket covering something. Tom pulled back the blanket. Underneath, there was a girl. She looked about 14 or 15, but something was strange about her. Her hair was silver blue, and her skin was too smooth, almost shiny. She wore a plain gray suit, and around her neck was a thin collar with blinking blue lights. The girl was shivering. Her big eyes, glowing softly blue, stared at Tom. For a moment, Tom could not speak. Was this a joke? A prank? A crime? But the fear in the girl's eyes looked real. Suddenly, the girl sat up and pulled herself away from Tom. She looked around the room, confused and scared. Her voice was soft and shaky. "Please, do not send me back," she whispered. Her English was clear but slow, like she learned it from a machine. Tom stepped back. "Who are you? What is this? Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice trembling. The girl looked at her hands and then at Tom. "I am Nira. I do not want to go back. They will find me. Please do not return me," she said again, almost begging. Tom looked at the collar on her neck. He tried to touch it, but Nira flinched. Tom felt helpless and confused. He thought about calling the police, but what would he say? That he got a girl in a box from the internet? And her eyes, no human had eyes that glowed like that. Suddenly, the lights flickered again. Tom's phone started to ring, but the screen was just static. The girl covered her ears, looking like she was in pain. Tom hurried to close the box lid, but Nira grabbed his hand. "Please, you must hide me. They are looking. They can hear electronics. Please," she cried. Tom stared at her, his mind spinning. He could hear footsteps outside, maybe just neighbors. Or maybe someone else. He pulled Nira out of the box, quickly wrapping her in the blanket. He turned off his phone, TV, and every light in the apartment, just as she asked. They sat in the dark together, only the city lights coming through the window. Tom could hear his own heartbeat. Nira was shaking, but she tried to smile. "Thank you for not sending me back," she whispered. Tom had no idea what was happening, but he knew this was not a normal smart pet, and not a normal night. He looked at Nira and whispered, "You are safe for now. I will help you." But as Tom sat there in the dark with the strange alien girl beside him, he felt a cold fear inside. Who was she really? Who was searching for her? And what kind of danger had just entered his life? Learning the truth the next morning, Tom woke up early. For a moment, he thought last night was a dream. But then he saw the strange girl, Nira, curled up on his couch, wrapped tightly in his old blanket. Her eyes were closed, but she looked uncomfortable. The collar around her neck still blinked with soft blue lights. Tom sat on the edge of the sofa and watched her. He tried to remember every detail from last night. He still did not know if he was in trouble or if this was some strange trick. Tom felt he should call the police or someone for help. But when he picked up his phone, he stopped. What if they took Nira away? She was scared, and Tom did not want to make things worse. Quietly, Tom walked to the kitchen and made some toast. He poured a glass of water and placed it on the table near Nira. The smell of food woke her up. She opened her eyes slowly and looked at Tom, a little scared but also curious. "Good morning," Tom said softly. He tried to smile so she would not be afraid. Nira sat up and looked around. She held the blanket tightly. "Where am I?" she asked. "You are in my apartment," Tom replied. "My name is Tom. I ordered a smart pet." "But you are not a pet. You are... I don't know what you are." Nira looked down at the collar. She touched it with her thin fingers. "They call me a pet, but I am not a pet. I am from another world. I escaped them. I hid in the shipment. I am sorry." Her voice was slow, and she chose her words carefully. Tom felt a chill run down his back. "You're an alien?" he whispered. Nira nodded, her eyes big and sad. "Yes, my people. We were taken by others. I do not know where my family is. I learned your language from the data net. I was not supposed to talk to humans, but I had no choice." Tom tried to understand. "Who is they?" "The people who took you?" Nira nodded again. "They are not like you. They buy and sell people from many worlds. They make us wear these collars. The collars make us obey. If I do not follow, the collar will hurt me." Tom looked closely at the collar. It had no buttons, no key, only blinking lights and strange symbols. "Can you take it off?" he asked. Nira shook her head. "No, only they can. If you try to break it, it will hurt me. Please do not try." Tom felt angry and sad for Nira. He wanted to help, but he did not know how. "Are you hungry?" he asked, trying to change the subject. Nira nodded a little. She picked up the toast and nibbled it, but she made a face. "This tastes strange," she said. Tom laughed nervously. "It's just bread and butter. Maybe your world has different food." Nira tried to smile. "Yes, our food is soft and sweet. Not like this, but thank you." While Nira ate, Tom sat across from her and asked more questions. "How did you end up in the box?" Nira explained in her slow, careful English. "I was on their ship. Many of us were in cages. I heard them talking about selling pets to humans. I saw the box and hid inside when they were not looking. I was afraid, but I had to escape." Tom listened with wide eyes. He could not believe this was really happening. He checked the note again. "Do not return." He wondered if it was a warning for him or for Nira. After breakfast, Tom tried to call the number on the package. It did not connect. He sent an email to customer service, but the email bounced back. The website where he ordered the smart pet was gone. Tom felt even more confused and scared. He looked at Nira, who was now watching his TV closely. The screen showed cartoons, and Nira's eyes followed every movement, full of wonder. Tom asked, "What will you do now? Where will you go?" Nira shook her head. "I do not know. I have no place. If they find me, they will take me back. Please, Tom, can I stay here? Just for a little while. I will not cause trouble." Tom looked at her. She seemed so lost, but also brave. He remembered how lonely he used to feel. Now he was not alone anymore, but he had a big secret to keep. He nodded. "Okay, you can stay. But you must stay hidden. If anyone comes, you must hide. I will help you as much as I can. Neera's eyes lit up. Thank you, Tom. I will not forget your kindness. But outside, a black car stopped near Tom's building. Two men in dark suits looked up at the window. Someone was already searching for the lost pet, and Tom's quiet life would never be the same again. Hiding from danger, Tom closed the curtains and locked the doors. Every sound outside made him nervous. Neera sat quietly on the couch, her knees pulled to her chest, still wearing the blinking collar. She watched Tom carefully, like she was ready to run if he shouted at her. Tom tried to act normal, but he kept looking out the window. The black car was still there. The two men inside wore dark sunglasses even though it was cloudy. Sometimes they talked on their radios and pointed at the building. Tom's hands felt sweaty. He whispered to Neera, "Someone is looking for you." Neera's eyes widened in fear. She started to shake. "Is it them?" she asked in a small voice. "I don't know," Tom replied, his voice shaking too. "But they look like trouble. You need to stay out of sight." Tom turned off all the lights and told Neera to hide in his small bedroom. He gave her a pillow and told her to stay quiet, no matter what. "Don't open the door for anyone," he said. Neera nodded and slipped into the room, moving quickly and quietly. After a few minutes, someone knocked at Tom's door. Tom's heart jumped. He waited, hoping they would leave, but the knocking came again, louder this time. Tom slowly walked to the door and looked through the peephole. One of the men in the black suit stood outside, holding a shiny badge up to cone. "The glass, open up, please," the man called out. "We're here about a delivery. We believe there's been a mistake." Tom's mind raced. Should he open the door? What if they forced their way inside? He tried to sound calm. "What kind of mistake?" he asked through the door. "We're looking for a missing pet," the man answered. "It's very important we find it. It could be dangerous." Tom felt cold all over. He tried to sound confused. "I didn't get any pet," he lied. "Just some boxes of stuff I ordered online." There was a long pause. The man leaned closer to the door. "If you see anything strange, call this number," he said, slipping a card under the door. Then he turned and walked back to the black car. Tom waited until he heard the car engine start and fade away down the street. He let out a long breath and went straight to the bedroom. Neera was hiding behind the bed, holding the pillow tightly. "They're gone for now," Tom whispered. "But we have to be careful." Neera crawled out and looked at Tom, her eyes shining with worry. "I'm sorry, Tom. You are in danger because of me. If you want me to leave, I will." Tom shook his head. "No, I said I would help you, and I meant it, but we need a plan. We can't stay here forever." Neera nodded. She looked tired, her hands shaking. Tom brought her some water, and they both sat on the floor thinking. Tom tried to cheer her up. "We can make this work, but you need to trust me. We'll keep you safe." He smiled, trying to be brave for both of them. Later that day, Tom went online to see if anyone else got a smart pet like his. But there was no information, no reviews, nothing about the company. It was like the ad and website had never existed. That night, Tom made a bed for Neera in the closet with pillows and blankets. He explained, "If anyone comes, just hide here and stay quiet." Neera nodded, grateful but still scared. The next morning, Tom peeked outside. The black car was back. This time, it parked farther away. But the men were still watching the building. Tom knew they could not stay in the apartment much longer. He packed a small bag with food, water, and a few clothes. He gave Neera one of his hats and a big hoodie to cover her hair and collar. "We have to leave tonight," he whispered. "I know a friend outside the city. We'll stay with him for a while. I don't want you to get caught." Neera's eyes filled with hope and fear at the same time. "Thank you, Tom. You are very kind. I will try not to cause trouble." Tom smiled, "Just stay close to me, and we'll be okay." As the sun went down, Tom and Nira slipped out the back door, careful not to be seen. They walked through alleys and side streets, hiding whenever they heard footsteps or saw a car with dark windows. At one point, a street light flickered above them. Nira looked up, her eyes glowing softly in the dark. She touched the collar and whispered something in her own language. The street light blinked out completely, hiding them in darkness. Tom stared at her in surprise. "Did you do that?" Nira only nodded, her face serious. "I can help you too," she whispered. Tom realized she was not just someone to protect, she could protect him as well. They moved quickly, knowing the night was full of danger. Tom's heart beat fast, but with Nira beside him, he felt a little braver. He did not know what would happen next, but he was sure their adventure was just beginning. Discovering her powers, Tom and Nira walked quietly through the dark streets, moving farther away from Tom's apartment and the men in black suits. Tom led Nira along small paths and empty alleys, looking behind them every few minutes. The city was quiet, but Tom felt as if every shadow was watching. After an hour, they reached the edge of the city. Tom's friend Jake lived in a small old house on the outskirts, surrounded by tall grass and big trees. Jake was kind, but he liked his privacy and rarely had visitors. Tom thought it was the safest place for Nira right now. Tom knocked softly on Jake's door. Jake, a tall man with a beard, opened the door and looked surprised to see Tom at this hour. "Hey, Tom? What's going on?" Tom spoke quietly. "Jake, can we stay here tonight?" "I can explain later. It's important." Jake glanced at Nira, who was half hiding behind Tom, her face hidden under the hoodie. Jake shrugged. "All right, come in, but you owe me a good story." Inside, Jake made some tea and let Tom and Nira rest in the living room. Tom was nervous, but Nira stayed close to him, her eyes scanning the room carefully. Jake tried to ask questions, but Tom just said, "I'll explain everything in the morning." When Jake went to bed, Tom finally felt he could breathe. Nira looked tired. She sat on the floor, hugging her knees. Tom whispered, "You can rest now. We are safe here, at least for tonight." Nira nodded, but her eyes were still worried. "Thank you, Tom, but I feel something is not right." Suddenly, all the lights in the house flickered. A cold wind blew through the room, even though the windows were closed. Nira's collar began to blink faster and brighter. Tom's phone, which he left on the table, started to buzz and show static again. The TV turned on by itself, showing strange symbols and colors. Tom felt scared. "Is this happening because of you?" he asked. Nira hugged her knees tighter. "Yes, when I am scared, I cannot control it. My body can change electricity and light. I try to hide it, but sometimes it happens." Tom's eyes widened. "So you have powers, like real powers?" Nira nodded, ashamed. "I can control energy, but only for a short time. It makes me very tired if I do it too much. My people were used for our powers. That is why they kept us in collars. The collar controls my energy and makes me weak." Tom felt a mix of fear and amazement. "Can you use your powers to help us escape? Maybe stop the men who are following us?" Nira thought for a moment. "If I try, I can make lights go out or break small machines, but it is dangerous. If they see me use my power, they will know I am here. They can track energy signals." Tom nodded. "Okay, only use your power if it's really needed." Suddenly, there was a loud crash outside. Jake ran into the living room, his face pale. "Someone's outside." "I saw flashlights moving in the trees." Tom's heart pounded. He grabbed Nira's hand. "We have to hide." Jake looked confused, but Tom pulled him along. They all hid in the small basement under the house. Nira sat in the corner, her collar blinking madly. Tom could hear footsteps above them. Someone was inside the house. Nira closed her eyes and whispered softly, The light bulb in the basement popped and went dark. They all sat quietly in the darkness, listening to the heavy boots upstairs. The footsteps stopped right above them. Tom held his breath. Nira's hands glowed softly, just enough to see their faces. Suddenly, the basement door rattled. Someone was trying to open it. Nira took a deep breath and put her hand on the metal stairs. Sparks shot out from her fingers, and the door's lock melted, sealing the door shut. A shout came from upstairs. Someone tried to force the door, but it would not open. Nira's face was pale, and she shook with weakness. Tom hugged her. "Thank you, Nira. You saved us." Nira tried to smile. "I am tired, but I am okay." After a few minutes, the men left the house. The sound of cars driving away made Tom relax. Jake looked at Tom in shock. "What is going on, Tom? Who is she? What did she do?" Tom decided it was time to tell Jake the truth. He told him everything about Nira, the smart pet order, the strange delivery, the men in black, and Nira's powers. Jake listened in silence, his eyes wide with disbelief. When Tom finished, Jake looked at Nira, then at Tom. "This is big trouble, Tom, but I will help you both. We need to keep her safe. I have some old friends who know how to hide people." Tom felt relief. With Jake's help, he had hope again. Nira, though tired, smiled for the first time since she arrived. For the first time, Tom realized that Nira was not just someone to care for. She was a friend, and together they could face whatever. Danger came next. The secret is out. Tom hardly slept that night. He kept thinking about the men who came to Jake's house and about Nira's powers. When he woke up, the morning sun was already shining through the dusty windows. Jake was already in the kitchen, making coffee and looking out the window, worried. Nira was sitting quietly at the table. Her face was pale, and she looked weak. Tom asked her gently, "Are you feeling okay?" Nira nodded slowly. "I am better now, just tired. When I use my powers, it takes a lot from me." She tried to smile, but Tom could see she was still scared. Jake brought them some bread and fruit. He tried to make a joke, but Tom could tell he was nervous. "Well, I guess this is not a normal day for any of us." Tom looked at his phone and froze. He saw dozens of missed calls and text messages from an unknown number. Then he checked a news website. His heart sank. There was a new video going viral, blurry security footage showing Nira's glowing eyes and the strange electrical storm around Jake's house last night. The video's title was, "Is This Proof of Aliens Among Us?" Jake saw Tom's face and looked over his shoulder. "That's your place. That's last night." Tom nodded. He felt sick. Someone must have recorded it from outside. "Now everyone is going to know. They'll be coming here." Nira's hands shook. "If they find me, they will take me back. The collar, it will hurt me. And you will be in danger too." Jake stood up, his face serious. "We need to leave. I know a safe place outside the city. I have friends who can help us hide. But you must promise not to use your powers unless you have no other choice." Nira agreed, her voice quiet. "I understand." They packed quickly. Jake put on a cap and sunglasses, Tom did the same, and Nira wore a scarf to cover her face. Before leaving, Tom took one last look at his phone. The video had thousands of comments. Some people were excited, others were scared, and some called it fake. But there were also messages from strange accounts. "Return the property, and we are coming." Tom turned off his phone and left it behind. They left the house through the back door and followed a small path into the woods. They walked for a long time, moving quietly, avoiding any roads or cameras. Jake's safe place was an old cabin deep in the forest. He said nobody knew about it, but a few trusted friends as they walked. Nira looked up at the sky and whispered, "My people used to hide like this. We were always running. I never wanted to run again." Tom touched her shoulder. "You're not alone anymore. We'll keep you safe." After a few hours, they reached the cabin. It was small, but safe and hidden. Jake checked the area to make sure nobody had followed them. Inside, Nira sat near the window, staring out at the trees. She looked so lost and lonely that Tom sat beside her. "Why are they doing this to you?" Tom asked. Nira's eyes filled with tears. "They think my powers are dangerous. They want to use me for their own plans. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to be free." Tom's heart ached. He remembered how lonely he had felt before he met Nira. Now he understood how important it was to help her. That night, while Jake was outside checking for signs of danger, Tom and Nira talked softly. Nira explained more about her world, her family, and her dreams. Tom listened carefully, wishing he could do more. Suddenly, there was a loud noise outside, a car speeding down the forest road, headlights shining straight at the cabin. Tom's heart raced. Jake ran inside. "They found us. We need to get out now." Nira's collar blinked red. She winced in pain, but she stood up bravely. Tom grabbed her hand, and Jake led them through a hidden door in the back of the cabin. They ran through the dark woods, not looking back. Behind them, they heard voices shouting and dogs barking. Nira stumbled, and Tom caught her. He could see how much she was suffering, but she kept moving. At last, they reached a river. Jake pointed to a small boat hidden among the reeds. "Get in quick." As the boat drifted away from the shore, Nira looked at Tom, her eyes filled with tears. "I am sorry. Because of me, you are in danger." Tom shook his head. "I chose to help you. You're my friend, Nira. We'll get through this together." As they floated down the river into the darkness, Tom promised himself he would do whatever it took to protect Nira. He knew the world was watching now, and their lives would never be the same again. But he also knew he was not alone anymore, and neither was. Nira making a stand, the small boat moved quietly down the dark river. Tom, Nira, and Jake said nothing, listening for sounds of people chasing them. The night was cold, and a thin mist covered the water. Every splash of the oars echoed through the silence. When the river curved around a thick patch of trees, Jake pointed to a broken old dock. "We'll hide there for now," he whispered. They left the boat and climbed onto the muddy bank. Jake led them into an old warehouse, half fallen and hidden by weeds. Inside it was dark and cold, but safe for now. Tom helped Nira sit down. She was still weak, the collar on her neck blinking red and blue. Jake pulled out a flashlight and some food from his bag. "We can't run forever," he said softly. "They'll keep finding us. We need a plan." Tom looked around. The warehouse was big and full of old metal junk, empty crates, and broken machines. An idea formed in his mind. "We could set traps here," he said. "We can make it look like nobody's here. And if they come inside, we'll be ready." Jake nodded. "That's a good plan. I'll block the doors and set up noise traps. If anyone gets too close, we'll hear them." Nira listened quietly. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "If you want, I can help. I can use my powers just a little. Maybe I can hide us or turn off their machines." Tom touched her hand gently. "Only if you feel strong enough, Nira. We don't want you to get hurt." Nira nodded. She was scared, but she wanted to help her friends. While Jake and Tom worked, Nira closed her eyes and placed her hand on the warehouse's old fuse box. Sparks flickered, and soon all the lights in the building shut off. Only soft blue light glowed from Nira's eyes and collar, enough for Tom and Jake to see in the dark. They waited in silence. Tom made a safe spot for Nira to rest, surrounded by crates. Jake hid sharp tools and noisy cans near the doors, ready to alert them if someone tried to come in. Tom's heart beat fast as he listened to the night sounds outside. After hours of silence, they heard a car engine in the distance. Then voices, footsteps, and the sound of flashlights snapping on. "They're here," Jake whispered. Tom and Jake crouched low, ready to defend themselves. Nira sat quietly, breathing slowly, her eyes fixed on the door. Suddenly, men in black suits broke open the main door. Flashlights danced across the warehouse. "We know you're here," a man shouted. "Give up the alien girl, and nobody gets hurt." Tom stayed hidden, but his hands shook. Jake held a heavy metal pipe, ready to defend his friends. Nira looked at Tom. "Trust me," she whispered. She stood up slowly and raised her hands. Blue light began to shine from her collar and fingertips. The men's radios started to screech with static. Their flashlights flickered, then shut off, leaving the warehouse in darkness. The men panicked. They tripped over Jake's traps, making loud noises as cans rolled and metal crashed. One man tried to turn on his night vision goggles, but sparks shot out, burning his hand. Tom ran to Nira's side. "Are you okay?" Nira's face was pale, but she nodded. "I can do a little more." She focused hard, and the metal doors slammed shut, trapping the men inside with them. Jake and Tom stood beside her as the men shouted and banged on the door. One man fired his weapon into the darkness, but the bullets only hit metal crates. Tom stepped forward. "Stop! Leave us alone." "She hasn't hurt anyone. She just wants to be free." A voice answered from the darkness. "She's government property. Return her or face the consequences." Jake shouted back, "She's not property. She's a living being, and we'll protect her." The men tried to force the door again, but Nira used her power to fuse the lock shut. Then she collapsed, breathing hard. Tom and Jake lifted Nira and carried her to the far side of the warehouse. The men were trapped for now, but they would not stay trapped forever. Jake looked at Tom. "We need to get out. There's a small door in the back. I used it years ago. It leads to the woods." Tom nodded. He helped Nira stand. She was weak but still trying to smile. "Thank you for helping me," she whispered. Tom squeezed her hand. "We're a team now. We look after each other." They slipped out the back door, leaving the angry men behind. The woods were dark and quiet. Tom carried Nira as they ran through the trees, following Jake. When they finally stopped, far from the warehouse, Tom looked at Nira. "You were amazing. You saved us." Nira smiled, tired but happy. "I couldn't have done it alone." "Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jake." Jake smiled too. "We're not safe yet, but we're together. That's what matters." As the first light of morning touched the trees, Tom felt hope for the first time in days. Maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to a new life. A new beginning. The sun was rising as Tom, Nira, and Jake left the dark woods behind. They walked until their legs ached, stopping only when they found a quiet hilltop with a wide view of the countryside. The morning air felt cool and fresh, and, for a moment, everything seemed peaceful. Nira sat on the grass, her face tired but calm. Tom and Jake sat with her, breathing deeply and letting the fear slowly fade away. They had escaped the warehouse and the men in black suits, but none of them knew what would happen next. Jake pulled out his phone and checked the news. "They're saying the alien girl disappeared without a trace," he said. "Some people think it was a hoax, others are scared. But nobody knows the real story." Tom felt a strange relief. Maybe that's good. Maybe now we can finally hide and start over. Nira looked at them, hope shining in her blue eyes. "I do not want to run anymore. I want a home. I want a family. I am tired of being scared." Tom smiled and gently squeezed her hand. "You have a family now. Me and Jake, we're your family if you want us." Jake nodded, smiling warmly. "We'll protect you. No more running if we can help it." But there was still one problem, the collar. Its lights glowed softly, but sometimes it blinked red and made Nira wince in pain. Tom knew they could not live in peace as long as the collar was there. Jake looked at the collar closely. "I know a friend who used to work with electronics. He lives not far from here. He's good at fixing things. Maybe he can help." Nira was nervous, but she trusted Tom and Jake. They walked for hours, carefully avoiding any roads or places where cameras might see them. At last they reached a small cottage hidden in the trees. Jake's friend, Mr. Lee, opened the door, surprised to see 3 tired people on his porch. Jake quickly explained everything, except the real truth about Nira's powers. He simply said she was being hunted by bad people and needed the collar removed. Mr. Lee looked at the collar and nodded. It's old tech. I can try, but she needs to be brave. This might hurt. Nira nodded. I am ready. Mr. Lee worked carefully, using tiny tools to open the collar. Sparks flashed, and for a moment, Nira gasped in pain. Tom held her hand, whispering words of comfort. At last, there was a loud click, and the collar fell away. Nira took a deep breath. For the first time, she felt completely free. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from pain, but from happiness. Thank you, she whispered, hugging Tom and Jake. Mr. Lee smiled and promised to keep their secret. He gave them some food and let them rest before they moved on. The next few days were quiet. They found a small, empty house far from any city, deep in the countryside. Jake used an old name to rent the place. Tom and Nira cleaned and fixed it together. Soon it felt warm and full of life. Nira learned to cook simple meals and even laughed when Tom burned the toast. She spent time outside, enjoying the sun and wind, planting flowers in the garden. For the first time, she had a room of her own and could sleep without fear. One evening, as they sat together by a small fire, Nira looked at Tom and Jake. I never thought I could feel safe again. You gave me a home. You gave me hope. Tom smiled. You gave me a reason to care. I was lonely before. Now I am not. Jake added, family is not just about blood. It's about who stands by you when things are hard. We're together now. That's all that matters. They watched the stars come out, quiet and peaceful. No more sirens, no more running. Nira smiled at the night sky. She knew her real family was far away, but her heart was full. The world still did not know the truth about the alien girl. Maybe one day it would, but for now, Tom and Nira were content to live quietly, helping each other and building a new life together. And so, after all the danger and fear, Tom finally got the pet he ordered, but she was much more than that. She was a friend, a family member, and a brave survivor. Together, they faced every new day, not as fugitives, but as a real family with hope for a brighter, peaceful future.